look at successful companies we love, most of them actually started cheaper and faster than we realized. So take Airbnb. That started in a weekend. Like, I worked for Zuckerberg directly. I believe it was a weekend, if not a week. He was able to build Facebook, which is now $1 trillion business. Everyone has a weekend available to change their life.
Do I need to go on like a Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat? You know, do I go in the woods? Like, what does this weekend look like?
The first part, which is probably the most interesting and the most life-changing for the people who've gone through it, is really around how do you start. And really starting is how do you start with yourself. And basically the two major things that has held everyone back from success is...
What's up, Wealth Builders? Today, I have got a guy who in the last 3 years has sold over $250 million. That's right, $1 billion, not $1 million. $250 million in revenue with his tech company, AppSumo. On top of that, he's not just your normal tech nerd. This dude actually creates content, and he just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube yesterday. I've got Noah Kagan. What's up, man?
What's up, Ryan? Good to see you.
You were on the show maybe like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And a lot's changed since then. we were just talking about it.
Pregnant girlfriend, number one, which is, family. And that's definitely amazing and kind of wild that that's coming out. AppSumo.com, we've had some tough times, just like everyone else out there. And then, but in the past 3 years, a lot of improvements, a lot of compounded changes. So $250 million in sales, which it blew my mind how well we've done to promote software deals. And then the YouTube channel. So working, it's going to probably sound crazy, maybe like 5% of my time doing a YouTube channel or 10% of my time. And then being able to build one of the top YouTube channels for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And then your book.
Oh, yeah, the book.
Don't forget your book, dude.
$1 million weekend. So yeah, at the same time, also wrote a book with one of the best-selling authors of the decade to help other people if they're curious to follow my exact process to be able to create $1 million businesses.
Well, yours is $1 million weekend. So I'm curious how you make $1 million in a weekend. We can talk about that later.
We will. But
let's just talk about some few things you just touched on. So AppSumo.com, for those who don't know, what exactly is it? How long ago did you start it? Where is it at?
AppSumo.com, I started it bootstrapped in a weekend, $48. It is a software deal site. So if you're a solopreneur, 1, 2, 3 people, instead of paying for subscriptions for software, you come to AppSumo.com, and it's the -- 1 site online for software deals, specifically for entrepreneurs.
It reminds me of a site I used to go on called Slick Deals.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. When I was like 10 years ago, I'd always just look on there. I'm like, what do they got today? And I'd always end up buying some crap that I didn't need.
Well, for a lot of people, especially if you're getting started out or if you're an agency or freelance or something like that, right now today, you have to go pay for a subscription for some kind of software, $20, $50, $100, and you're just getting going. Come to AppSumo.com, it's $30 for life.
Whoa. And
you can get these different types of tools. Like Calendly is a popular one. And Calendly is like $20 a month. And so we have tidycal.com for $29 for life.
Is it just like a generic version of Calendly? Like, how would you describe it then?
So we actually built tidycal. So some of the products, we have some of our own, we call them AppSumo Originals products. And so it's kind of, it's from part of our marketing to bring people into the AppSumo ecosystem.
Got it.
So for a lot of people, it's like, what's your free product or what's your entry level product? And so we create lighter weight, affordable versions of popular products. And tidycal is one of them. So it doesn't have tons of complex features, which most people don't need.
Yeah.
And because it's software, it doesn't really cost us a lot to run.
Yeah.
So for $29, we're making, 80, 90% margins.
Yeah. And
then we could sell a lot of them. And that's been probably the #1 way that we've brought in customers into AppSumo in the past few years.
Because they come for that product. They don't even know it's AppSumo. Then they have to come to the website and they're like, oh, there's all this other stuff too.
100%. So we have tools like AI writers are popular, customer support tools. So if you come to Ryan Pineda's site and instead of having to have a customer support person you pay for, you can spend $40 for chat base and you get a customer support person you can talk to on your website. So there's all these different tools that you're like, I didn't even know these existed and I can get a good price on them.
I mean, dude, just tell me about this. Since 2 years ago, I mean, I just look at what's happened with tech and I'm like, it's crazy, right? ChatGPT came on the scene. AI's on the scene. Like so much is happening.
Yeah.
How has that impacted AppSumo? Like how difficult is it to stay ahead to be like, oh crap, dude, like we need this next wave of apps that are going to be the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting about AppSumo is that I'm not trying to choose the winners. I'm just trying to find what products could win. Right. So if you think about YouTube, me and you we're creating on YouTube and we're trying to get followers and get attention and maybe get people end up being customers. The real winner in that is YouTube.
Yeah. They get all the views and
they're getting they give us 20% margin and we're like super excited. And they give us a few subs and we're like, I can't believe it. And the real winner is they're getting amazing people creating content, it is cool that now you can be an entrepreneur and create content in anything you're interested in. But really the platforms win. And so thinking about how do I sell the pickaxes? How do I sell the shovels? How do I create the platform So for AppSumo.com, I started it 14 years ago. There was about 10 products to promote that were software deals for entrepreneurs. And over the years, though, it went from 10 to about 10,000. And so we're more agnostic to what tools are going to win and just being like, what do our customers really want? Let's put it out there. And we've gotten more sophisticated about how we choose and just let the products evolve, but we just put them out there and let the customers help pick which ones to buy.
But I would imagine that so much of what people want now is AI.
Everything AI. Even if it's not AI, they just put it .ai and then they get it. And I think that's like all trends and all fads, like if it's crypto or if it's blogging or if it's content creating. And then, the dust settles and the people who stick with things are successful, and some companies have success with it as well.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's what's interesting about, like you said, all the things, right? It's because it's like, I could just see in the last, I've been on YouTube now since 2020, and it's like, okay, there was this phase of, create content. Then there's this phase of crypto. Then there's this phase of AI. Then there's this phase of whatever the next thing is. Like, I don't even know. Yeah. But, the dust does settle, like you said, but it's not that, the stuff doesn't work. It's just like, there's only a few people that stick with it after the trend is over.
Yeah. One of the most popular contents for my YouTube channel is interviewing billionaires. Mm-hmm. And one of probably the most surprising thing is how long it took him to get to billionaire. And it's like, just copy the success. Almost all the billionaires I've interviewed, I think there's 3,000 in the world, and I've interviewed around 7 or 8. And I've worked for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, these people. I've worked for billionaires. And they stick with it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And most people stick with it for a day. Yeah. Right? They post one video, which I started my YouTube channel in 2020 as well, very similar to you. And I started with just the phone that everyone has, and it's me shirtless. It's not great, by the way. I wouldn't watch it.
What'd you talk about?
That's
how you get a 6-pack?
I did get a 6-pack. That shit sucks. No, what I was talking about, and the point is that you just get started. More than anything, get started and stick with it and find things you actually enjoy. And I actually watched that video yesterday because I was curious. I was like, how did I get started? Because anyone can get started today, right now. Mm-hmm. And I was just talking about during COVID, my exact plan. Like, here's exactly what I'm doing. And I felt very confident because I was working like with my business, and I was talking to my stepdad about my personal finances. And I just put together, here's my plan. Yeah. I said, I'm going to have 50% in cash, and please don't overcorrect. I called it the rubber band theory. And it was just like, when things happen, we go one way, and if bad things happen, we overcorrect the other way. So it's like, hey, just try to pause before you get emotional and react to something. And so I just made a video. It was like a 10-minute video. It got a few hundred views. I was like, oh, I like making this. No, a few people watched it. Let me stick with this.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember, so we got started at the same time, and I just started to look at like, okay, who are the content creators in the entrepreneur space? Yeah. And so, you look at the guys who are really big, and then like I started to look at the guys who were, let's just say up and coming, right? And so I remember I reached out to you. I was like, dude, I like your content, man. Like, you're an actual business guy doing business. Like, this is cool. It seems like most of these guys currently are just creators only. And so that's what attracted me to reaching out to you.
There's a lot of what I like to call fantasy writers. There are a lot of fantasy YouTubers and fiction people who talk about their revenue, and they talk about the money they make. And then you're like, okay, great. What's your business? Oh yeah, it does 200 million, does 100 million. Okay, great. What is it? Oh, I can't tell you that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't tell me? Like, you can see Facebook.com where I worked. You can see Mint.com, which I helped build. You can see AppSumo.com. You can see Tidycal.com. You could, dot. You can also see my failures. Yeah. MasturbationSock.com. Total failure.
Wait, what was it called?
MasturbationSock.com. Total failure. Oh, BetArcade.com.
I can't believe that one failed.
It's, if anyone's interested in investing in it, please don't. BetArcade.com, NinjaCar.com, CollegeUp.org, ComeGetUsed.com. You can also see my failures. And so, it was interesting as an entrepreneur who's running, our company's going to do $80 million top line this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm running a real company anyone can go buy. And then I'm also doing my best to inspire and teach people how I like to do it on YouTube. Yeah. And so, just kind of interesting to, see different people out there that are preaching different things. Then you come to your office, it's like, holy shit. Like, I remember the first time I came here, I was blown away. Because you kind of, there's other people on YouTube like, let me teach you real estate. And then you come here, it's like, this is real. Yeah. This is real what you have out here. Mm-hmm. So that was cool to see. And just kind of interesting, like, who puts things out and then who stays. Like, who actually is the one that people are going to stay with.
Longevity is the hardest thing. That's what I was telling somebody that the other day. I was like, look, anybody can have like a hot streak, and go do a great sprint for a year or even 2 or 3. Yeah. But, you look at these guys who have been around a long time, and I was like, you know what? The reason I may have a different ideology than a guy like Cardone, but dude, the dude stuck around for a long time.
Yes.
Dave Ramsey. I don't agree with everything he does, but the dude has been around a long time.
100%.
It's like to have that much perseverance, to take that much, flack, to have that many failures and to stick with it is hard to do.
It is very hard to do. So for myself and everyone out there, and you know this too, everyone has gone through something and they're like, I quit too soon. Everybody. Like I had a podcast. It was one of the top podcasts in business. Got to like 30 episodes. It wasn't 100,000 downloads an episode, which is, this. That's insane. That's like literally like 0.1% of podcasts. It was at 30,000 downloads. And I was like, well, I'm going to quit because it's not 100,000. And if I would have just stuck with it, right? And so for me, what I noticed with content creation and business is I call it the law of 100. And this works for me. And I've seen this change a lot of people's lives is just do 100 of them. Do 100 podcasts, do 100 videos, then quit.
Yeah.
And what happens when you get to 100, which is what happened with me and YouTube, with YouTube, I was like, I'm going to do 3 videos a week, every single week for a year. So I did 150 and no one really watched them. No one really watched them, but I promised myself I would get to it. And at the end of the year, literally around the 148th, 149th video, I was like, I like doing this. And I think that's an important part people miss out on. I liked this business. I like being public. I've been doing it since 2000, I think before you were born. And and like, I love doing it, man. I was doing it then, I'm doing it now. And then my like 148th video was me thinking like, these videos are not really getting watched. I like teaching the underdogs. That's who my customer is. People who want to have success, but feel frustrated or haven't had it yet. I was like, I'm going to just try something different because what I'm doing is not working. Then I was like, let's try knocking on people's doors and just ask them how they got rich.
Yeah.
And it was just like instantly, I was like, it just exploded. That was the first million view video. I was like, okay, this is different than everything else I've done.
Yeah. Everyone knows that my favorite way to build wealth is through real estate investing. That's the reason that I started Wealthy Investor, where we've trained thousands of students. But here's the thing. I've noticed that so many people fail to get started in real estate because they're worried about the money. They don't know where they're going to get the money to buy a house or flip or handle their renovations and things like that. And so they just never get started. I want to change that. And that's why I created a brand new free course that goes over 5 different ways that you could buy houses without using any of your own money today. And I'm going to give you it completely for free. All you have to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com/podcast. I've made it specifically for you. The moment you go to that link, you'll be able to go get access to it and learn how you could start buying houses today without any of your own money. And if you're somebody who already has a real estate business and who wants to scale, we want to help you too. You can click the link below and book a free strategy call with our team if that's you. Well, what's interesting about that is I remember watching you start to do that, right? Because when I interviewed you 2 years ago, I don't even know where we both are at, but it was probably like 100,000, 200,000 subs.
Yeah.
And, we're kind of making the same kind of content of like, hey, let's do like a 10-minute video, giving some lessons.
9 ways you're not poor.
Yeah, whatever it was, right? And, we've taken both dramatically different routes since then, right? I was like, you know what? I'm tired of these videos. You said the same thing. We're both like, we're tired of these videos. What do we do? I was like, I'm going all in on podcasting. I'm just not even going to do any scripted 10-minute thing. I'm just only interviewing people. That's it.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for about a year. And then you took the route of, I'm going to go just door knock millionaires and like, and what you were doing is not like it's never been done before. A podcast is not like it's my original idea.
Yes.
Like I've seen the TikToks of the dude asking car owners what they do.
Yeah.
Knocking just random neighborhoods. And so you kind of took an idea, but you brought a different element to it of, hey, I'm actually a credible businessman too. I'm not just some kid asking people what they do.
Yeah. And I don't have a course. I don't have anything like that. I have a business that I run and it's a way of exposing people to AppSumo.com.
Yeah.
But it's not the way I actually make money, which is the way that's my model, which works for me. It's interesting at AppSumo.com, the way we run our business is test and invest. So it's hard to know what's going to work. Like if you did, then everyone would already do it.
Yeah.
So with AppSumo.com, we'll try a lot of things as a test. So for instance, we wanted to try video ambassadors. So can we go and sponsor a lot of pre-fluencers? That's something I talk about at $1 Million Weekend, which is how do you find the people before they're the people? Because guess what? They'll actually respond to you. Guess what? They'll actually now it's like me and you. Like it's not, we both connected. You were already pretty established, but I was able to connect you kind of early.
Yeah.
I would say. And now it's like, I can text you, you text me about these things.
Yeah.
And so for AppSumo, it was like, why don't we go find up and coming people talking about finance, talking about entrepreneurship, talking about business, talking about AI, We'll give them $1,000 and we'll say, make a video about any of the tools on AppSumo.com. We'll give you credits. We'll support you. And if you sell, we'll also give you 15%. Let's just test it super basic.
Yeah.
And that's something that anyone can do, no matter your business. You can go and test things. And
you
then
didn't know if it would work, just an idea.
We did not know it worked. And we've tried a lot of things. I can't tell you how many, I could talk about so many different things.
Masturbation.com.
And
but did you try the masturbation glove?
No, dude. You know, my friend said yesterday, he's like, they're just socks, right? I was like, yeah, but it's a masturbation sock. No, so, we tried these video ambassadors. We sponsored a few people and then it just exploded, right? Like we're making our money back week 0. Whoa. Week 0, meaning that when we pay them this money, they have the video go out and we're seeing over 100% return on our money on gross profit week 0. So now there's a team of 5 doing video ambassador sponsorships. And so
what do they do? They just like hunt? There's
a team. So basically there's 2 people, 2 virtual assistants. They're real assistants virtually, not with us. I don't know where they are. There's companies you can use like howdy.com or we use assistantly as well.com. And they go and just scour. So, right, they're creating the database of all the different people that we think could be qualified. Then they pass it to Megan, and Megan basically just goes, verifies them, sends emails, or uses my name, or has me DM them. Mm-hmm. So take advantage of what you have. We DM them now because we tested all this stuff. And then Nick and Erica will close them and get them activated.
Got it. How much of your revenue would you attribute to your personal brand?
It's not an arrogant thing like everyone knows me or I want everyone to know me necessarily. We've surveyed, it's around 40%. And I think that's an important lesson for whether you're doing a gardening business, whether you're doing tennis coaching, whether you're doing real estate. Like what you're doing with real estate is something that I've seen people do, and it's very smart that you can copy in a lot of industries where you're building a brand and having other business streams outside of it. Mm-hmm. So it's seen about 40% of people being like, oh, I knew who Noah was. What's this AppSumo thing?
Yep.
And so people connect with people. Like Nike is not popular because it's Nike. It's popular because
Jordan, LeBron, Kobe,
Tiger. Exactly.
Tiger.
Huh. Okay. How do I copy that for my own business?
Yeah.
And so same with you. It's like, okay, they do real estate. I've seen this Ryan guy. Let me check out the things he has.
Yeah. Tesla's popular because of Elon. And I tell people this all the time. They're like, because people will, and I'm sure they've told you, Noah, how can you sell AppSumo if you're the face and you're the marketing and all this? And I don't even know that you want to sell AppSumo, but like,
I'll sell it.
Well, I'll sell it. So like, what do you say to that?
Oh, to sell the business?
Yeah.
No, I love my work.
No, I know. But like, if you were to sell it, they'll be like, oh, well, if Noah's 40% of the marketing,
yeah,
you can't sell that.
Yeah. Just taking a step back, I'm not, 2 separate things. Number one, I've considered selling it. We've considered going public. We've considered these things. And then what am I going to do? Like, I would literally go start AppSumo again. I like promoting things. Like everyone has a through line. Everyone has a free line, right? Every single person has a free line. And what that is what's the thing you're just going to do for free? And if you can figure out how to do for free, I call it the freedom number. Which is like, find the thing you want to do for free, make a little bit of money doing it. And that is how you'll make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So for me, it's promoting things, right? And I wanted to make $3,000 a month. That's my freedom number. It's like, if I can just promote things and make $3K a month, I can quit any of these jobs. I never have to have a boss again. I don't have to have a risky day job. To me, risky was having a day job. Not risky was creating my own businesses, which everyone can do. And I was like, I'm just going to get to that point. And that's what I did. And promoting things was the way. Now, in terms of having a person or not, get another person, right? It's not that it's an exclusive just to Noah. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And I like it. It doesn't mean you have to be in public. Someone else could be that person. Mm-hmm. But I do think having a person for your brand is really helpful. Super helpful. Almost every single company should be doing that.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is the more I think about it, right? So AppSumo is a just massive affiliate marketer. At the end of you create some of your own products, but most of the revenue would come from affiliate marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We like to call it partnerships. I think affiliate has a negative.
No, I know. But like you think about.
We have exclusive partnerships.
Right. Because most of these influencers, they become affiliates, right? If they don't have their own business. They're like, I'll just affiliate 100%. This thing, whatever, right? And, I see guys who are like, dude, we make $1 million a year from affiliates. And I'm like, well, imagine if you started your own business, like how much it would make if you just took that traffic to yourself.
Yeah.
And they think about it. And then I think like what's interesting with what you're talking about is you've created this platform like YouTube, like Airbnb, like Fiverr, like Upwork, where it's just like, well, yeah, I'm going to just take a rip off anyone that wants to use my traffic and all of these things that we have. Very similar to what was the original one that like people loved, but it's not doing too good? Groupon.
Oh yeah, that's been a bomb because you can only get so many nail salons.
But it's the same concept. It's just local businesses versus tech.
100%. I call it the rapper strategy.
Yeah.
So it's the rapper strategy, which is like how, and you're starting to do this. And I don't know, I'm guessing it's intentional, but even you having customers, having them put on content with your studio. Yep. Right? You're kind of building them out.
Yep.
Right. So that's what rappers do. It's like Lil Wayne.
Come to my label.
Yeah. Right. And then they build up them and then you get a little cut, just like Birdman got Lil Wayne and Lil Wayne got Drake.
Yeah.
And, Drake helped with The Weeknd. There's just like these things where you're now helping others grow and they're growing a little bit for you. And so with AppSumo.com, what's most fascinating is now it's a 100-person team, super complex. We have 2 full-time business intelligence people. There's like 4 or 5 on the finance team. There's just like a very complex team. But the crazy part, it started with a PayPal button. That's the craziest part that anyone can do today. I don't even know if people use PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Real Paper, whatever it is, Bitcoin, crypto. It was literally a PayPal button and a $12 sale to see if people actually wanted this type of business. And I did the ones you like, Masturbation Sock and Bet Arcade and Ninja Card and Reward Level and Software Taco that no one wanted. Yeah. But the important part was 2 things. One, I started. That's one of the things I found in $1 Million Weekend is that people just don't get started.
Yep.
And I started and I asked like, hey, does someone want to buy? Which is the second part of success is like, are you asking? Do you want to be my customer? Can I sell your property? Will you come on my show? Will you be my husband? Yeah. And just getting that going and asking for the sale made $12. At $12 now, I think yesterday, I have to look at the numbers, it was probably around $200,000 in a day. Wow. That we do.
That's crazy.
Which is, it's bonkers. I can't believe it, but that started at $12. And that's something accessible for everyone.
That's great. You know what's funny is you took the mindset of, I'm going to try a bunch of things and whatever sticks, sticks. I don't know which one's going to work, right? And this is common for tech people because it's so hard to break through in tech. You need, and then so many of like the biggest companies today were like pivots from other ideas. Yeah. I think about Instagram's story. I've read it about how they started as like some bourbon app.
It's like a photo app for whiskey.
For whiskey. Yeah. They were a photo app for whiskey. And that's the Instagram you use today.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at most of the successful companies we love, most of them actually started cheaper and faster than we realized. So take Airbnb. That started in a weekend. That's literally like the book. And the book is called $1 Million Weekend because most of us are busy. And I'll talk about Airbnb. Like you have a family of 3, you have a wife, you have things going on. And I just met a guy, Jake, he has a full-time job, same as you. Like it's hard to start a business. But everyone has a weekend available to change their life. And so Airbnb, the 3 guys, Joe and Brian and Nathan were like, we don't know what's going to happen, but why don't we just post like our apartment for this design conference that was happening and see if anyone books it. Right. And then someone booked it. I was like, oh, that was interesting. And they did it in a weekend. Yeah. Same thing with Zuck. Like I worked for Zuckerberg directly. He built one site, it got canceled, right, by at Harvard at the time. And then he's like, well, let me try it one more time, but I'm just going to make it easier for people to add friends. And then I believe it was a weekend, if not a week, he was able to build Facebook, which is now, $1 trillion business. Yeah. 15 years later.
What was Zuck like back then versus what you see from him now?
He's still a weirdo. He's still a weirdo. And he's a genius. Like I've been at Bill Gates' house. I worked at Microsoft in college. I've had dinner with Peter Thiel. These guys are smarter than us, but there's a lot of rich people who are very ordinary.
Yes.
There's a lot of rich people. And I wouldn't say necessarily ordinary, but people don't realize it's not some exclusive club. These guys are exclusive intelligence.
Their IQ isn't so far beyond. They're natural. I've said this before. It's like, if I wanted to go play in the NBA, it's just not possible. Like you have to be born a certain way. To be Zuck, you have to be born a certain way. Yeah. But to succeed in real estate, to succeed in starting a business, dude, normal everyday people, you don't need to be taller. You don't need to be stronger, good looking, any of this. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, I was this morning, I was at a hotel around the corner from here, and there's this woman working so hard. Her name was Sharon. And I was just like so impressed by her. And then I was thinking about what are these elements of her that everyone can copy? Because there's no exclusivity on hard work. There's no exclusivity on your attitude. Yeah. It's accessible for anyone to go do that today. Like, you know what? Maybe I'm not as smart as Zuckerberg, which I'm not. He's definitely smarter than me. But I can work hard and I can find my own business and I can do the Noah Kagan way. You can do Ryan way. Yeah. And I can have my attitude be like, there's going to be something good out there for me as well. And that's something that I think immigrants have succeeded so much. Look at all the top CEOs. They're all Indian. A lot of them are Indian. A lot of them are immigrants. Yeah. Like Jensen Huang, NVIDIA, Chinese. You got Satya of Microsoft. there's like something there. It's okay. What's going on with them that I can then copy for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say with Zuck, he's definitely smarter, and he had a really exciting future that he wanted. And I thought that was really inspiring. He was like, I'm going to connect the entire internet. Right? And this is at 24 years old when there's around 10 million people on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine, and most of us, we dream really small.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe, and for me, I even dreamed small for a long time. I never thought I'd have a partner. I never thought I'd have a family. And then you start realizing like, what, I can play in whatever level I want. And maybe you have to see it. Maybe you have to listen to someone like you to be inspired for that. And Zuck, for some reason, was able to have that very early. And that was really inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting about Zuck too is like, okay, his first idea didn't work. Maybe second didn't, but whatever, third did. Exactly. And he stuck with it. It had success. He had lots of adversity, right? The lawsuits, the whatever, right? I don't even know what really happened behind the scenes with all that. All I know, I've just seen Social Network, movie, right?
Yeah.
So like, all this adversity, even in the early days.
Yeah.
And, you get established, Facebook becomes what it becomes. It gets Instagram, all this stuff, right? And then the last few years, you look at it and you're like, man, this guy's kind of had some flops going on here. Like he changes to Meta in response to crypto and the metaverse. He then launches Threads to copy X. And you're like, all right. But then again, I look at it and I'm like, but there has not been enough time to say whether or not he actually did the wrong thing, because it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the things that really stand out to me, and this is what I heard from what you're saying, which is really fascinating, is you only need one hit to succeed in business. Like in baseball, you need a lot. You're a baseball player. You need a lot of hits to win the game.
Yeah, one hit's not going to keep you in the game.
It's not. It's not. But that's the craziest thing with business. Like I had 148 videos, give or take, in YouTube that did not do anything, and then I had one that I knocked on neighbors' doors in Austin, and I drove to the rich neighborhoods, knocked on the doors, put it out there, took 2 days to film, put it out, 1 million views, changed the entire channel, one video. So it's like most people don't realize they're like one step or one hit away from that success. And so it's like, all right, let me just get going today, right now, not how, right now. Keep swinging, keep experimenting, have fun. And you're one hit away from where that is. The second thing I would say that I think Zuck is missing the mark on, and this is something I teach in $1 Million Weekend and I've learned for myself, is that yes, you can wait 2 years to see if it succeeds, but you can also kind of try right away today and have some understanding if it's going to work. And some of the shit is just not working. And so why stay 2 years on something that's just not working? Find out sooner.
Yeah.
So how do you validate that? Like, can they put out threads quickly? Can they see if people are using it? Can they see the retention number? I'm guessing retention is shit. You're probably not using it. You're not using it. I'm not using it anymore. They could have found that out quicker versus like, all right, we're going to keep putting more stickers on a Honda. It's a Honda. It's a Honda. But you have to understand that, like, am I building something people actually want before you spend years, which most people do, which is the wrong way, to find out that that's not what they really want. Yeah.
Well, like even if you look at like all the things Facebook has tried, Instagram tried a lot of things that didn't work. They had like IGTV. They had, they were just photos for a long time. Shop. They responded to TikTok and said, dang, if we don't copy them, we're going to be toast.
Yeah.
So like even them, they're still testing and trying. And guess what? Once again, for Facebook and Instagram to still have 10 plus years is incredible.
It's very impressive.
Because in the tech space where things are so trendy and so in or out, AppSumo could get disrupted tomorrow because that's just like how tech works.
That's a great approach. That's one of the things we do in our annual planning, which is like, if we were to compete with ourselves today, how would we compete? And then compete with yourself.
Yeah.
And then you do it. But the reason companies don't do that is because you have to sacrifice, right? Because if you have to compete with yourself, you might have to give up something that's working. And it's letting go of one branch, but you can't get to the next branch unless you let go of the old branch. And so it doesn't mean you also have to blow things up immediately, but you have to evolve with how times are. So when I started AppSumo, it was bundles of software deals.
Yeah.
So it was like, let me go get 4 tools, put it in a bundle, and then and then I made like $5 margin.
Yeah.
So it was nothing. So in the book at $1 Million Weekend, we use a 1-minute business model. And it was like, my buddy Andrew Chen, he's VC at Andreessen Horowitz. He's an advisor to AppSumo. He's like, let's look at your 1-minute business model. Let's change how you're actually making money. Instead of doing bundles, let's do one. And then your margin goes from 5 to 25 and you can do more of them. That changed our business from 300,000 to 3 million.
Okay. This is a good
point. In 1
point.
year. Yeah.
So have you ever read the book 2X or 10X is easier than 2X?
No, I saw the cover though.
Yeah. So it's Dan Sullivan's new book, who's also wrote, I'm drawing a blank, Who Not How.
Okay.
And basically his whole premise was, if you want to 2X your business, you could just like basically work harder. and add more marketing. And like, you don't have to change anything like product wise, but to 10X, you everything needs to basically get blown up.
Totally.
Because there's no way to 10X without like just re-looking at everything.
Yeah.
And that's, you just literally described a 10X. You were like, dude, I mean, the business was built on this. We did well, but that wasn't going to get us to the next level. And so you blew it up.
Yeah. I've actually changed. I'm less ambitious. I don't believe in 10X. And so I just had my board meeting. Andrew Chen, literally one of the best VC firms. He's one of the best VCs in the world. We have Rajatish Mukherjee. He's the GM of Indeed.com. We have Moody Glasgow, CMO of Zapier, CMO of Glassdoor. And they're like, if you're not 10Xing, you're failing. And you can 10X, but I'll tell you my approach. And this is what actually, if you think about it, most people succeed over long periods of time. And the way to succeed over a long period of time is to not run really fast. You have to have something sustainable. So next year with AppSumo.com, we did 45 million was our target. Next year, our target is going to be around 50 million.
Okay.
And you're like, you're going to try to go like 5, 10%, 7%. Like, what's the deal? So our target was 45 this year. We're going to hit around 55 net revenue. So we crushed this year because we didn't set an ambitious goal. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on with that? Well, 1, you feel good. 2, it's sustainable. And 3, because you're not pressuring yourself to 10X, you actually have creative freedom to then go do things. You're like, well, I don't have to try to make money and try so hard. Let me see what I can actually do here.
Yeah.
The second thing to consider, and this is what's worked for us for 14 years and built literally almost $100 million revenue business, not like valuation, Silicon Valley, or what people put on their YouTube titles. The second thing is testing 10X opportunities.
Yes.
Not betting the farm on it. So we didn't just blow up and do bundles. We said, okay, let's try an individual deal out and see if that makes a difference. Same with our deals at AppSumo.com. We used to do 1-year deals. And this guy, Ullman on the team, was like, it's software. What if we tried a lifetime deal? Tested it, blew up. Now every deal is a lifetime deal. And so that's an important part as people are getting going, is now allocate some little percentage. So for AppSumo.com, next year, we've allocated about $1.5 million for just experiments, basically 10X experiments. So creating a site like Product Hunt, we're creating a directory site like that, testing an affiliate program, which is our own, to help software creators promote themselves.
Got it.
Testing a content plan. So we actually create, separate of Noah, our own content around AppSumo. Those are all experiments. And so allocating people, we have Mitchell, who's awesome, and other people to do it, and money to say, maybe this will 10X, maybe it won't, but we're not betting the entire farm and risking the business. And that is how we stayed around 14 years.
Exactly. You can't ever just bet the farm on a random idea when you're successful. Now, when you're not successful, you don't have a choice.
You should keep swinging, man. You have everyone's got 48 hours to change their life, and you don't need money. You don't need investors. You don't necessarily need even founders or partners, which I didn't want to have. You just need to go do it, and you get it started today while you're listening to this.
Well, what's interesting is like, you hear about the Google like research team or whatever it is. Like, I don't know how much they devote to it, but like they're just trying anything they want. It's like, hey, I got this idea. All right, here's a couple $1 million. Go at it.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
I mean, I think it's crazy that people have day jobs they hate. And you're literally like one day away from getting removed from your job and then figuring out like, holy shit, I'm totally replaceable.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is the key to save that. It's the key to solve that.
I agree.
I'm like, okay, maybe you don't even want to be a millionaire, which is pretty great. It is great for them. But at least you can have creative control over your future.
Yeah.
So that if you want to do it, like at AppSumo.com, we encourage side hustles. So Nick runs a teeth whitening business.
Okay.
And he's our head of growth. Amy is our head of customer support, and she has a hair salon and a flower delivery business for weddings. And it's great. And so for me, I want people like, hey, do both. Experiment, run your own side hustle, and do great work at AppSumo. And all other businesses, I would encourage everyone. Maybe it's content creating. Maybe it's like Austin being behind the scenes. Whatever that is, just go get that started.
Yeah.
Have
you found that as a way to retain employees? Because like at some point, right, like you said, they can keep growing and growing and they keep proving themselves. But at some point, like whatever that position is, it's going to have a cap to the position. And, even though that person may be better than maybe that money dictates, what do you do?
No, interesting.
Like, cause you're like, hey, get a side hustle and like, you'll still have this.
Yeah.
Instead of getting poached or not having, anything else.
The best way I found leadership is just ask people what they want and then help them get that.
Yeah.
And it's not always what's going to be best for me. And I've had stories. Ayman Al-Abdullah, he was the former CEO of AppSumo, one of my best friends. He calls me one day and he's like, I'm quitting today. I was like, bro, you make a lot of money. You have all this status. You have all these teammates. You've done a great job. He's like, that's not what I want. And it was like, okay, what do you want? I want to go and be a CEO coach. I was like, all right, I'll hire you. So now we pay him, I don't know, what do we pay him? 5 figures a year, and he's our CEO coach. And he coaches me and he supports other people on the team. Same with Sean. Sean was our junior, like the bottomest, lowest person we had at the company 6 years ago, junior salesperson. And now he runs an $80 million revenue business 6 years later because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
So I was investing in him, supporting him. And then I asked him, how much you want to make? He's like, I'm not going to share his number. He said a number. I was like, all right, let's get you that number.
Yeah.
And so it's understanding what the people want and then helping them get that.
Yeah. No, I love it. So tell me about the tech space, because the last, well, let's just say 18 months have been pretty brutal. What have you seen?
It's been brutal. It's I
real estate's been the same.
Yeah, dude, I hate real estate. Oh my God, all I do is lose money in my real estate. I need to just let you do it, and I'll stick to the tech stuff and content creator. I would say what's interesting with tech is I don't believe in downturns. I don't believe in bad economies. It's just in bad businesses.
Okay.
So I've actually succeeded almost the most when there's been fluctuations in the market. And it's not because I'm like some savant or anything like that. All you have to understand is like, what is it that you want that people will actually pay for?
Okay.
And I'm telling you, I've tried all these businesses that no one wanted to pay for.
Yeah.
And it took time to find the one that people do. So in tech with AppSumo.com, if economy goes down, people want to save money on software. I'm going to come to AppSumo.com. If the economy's up and people have a lot of money, they're like, hey, what other tools can I be buying? So they'll spend even more on that. And so it's understanding your business and making sure you're important enough to the customer. And most customers are like, yeah, just, I saw someone yesterday. Yeah, bad economy. It's not a bad economy. You have a bad business. No one wants what you're doing, which is an opportunity to talk to the customer because guess what? Maybe they're still paying for their servers. Maybe they're still paying for their hair care. Maybe they're still paying for different things, but not you. So let's find out what they are paying for so you can adjust to that. And that's something I learned the hard way. I was doing payments. That was one of my other businesses that did really well. People just fired me all the time. And I was like, well, what are they not firing? Their Facebook ads. What else are they not firing? Getting customers. I was like, oh, maybe I need to do something more valuable. And so then I shifted to be getting people customers, which is what AppSumo.com is. Now, in terms of running a $100 million almost revenue business, which I don't know, valuation is in 250 million, if not more for a valuation. I've made a lot of mistakes in the past 3 years specifically. I rushed really fast in the wrong direction. So I thought doing a marketplace where we have a very curated selection of tools for solopreneurs. We normally have around 600 tools that are very vetted, and we can predict our revenue within about 5%, which is very hard because every deal you don't know how it's going to do.
Right.
But we've figured it out over time. We normally have 600 deals on the site at any time. And I said, you know what? I'm a genius. You're listening to me. He knows all these things. And I was like, we need to put tons of deals on the site. Let's just put a ton and let our algorithm and software solve which ones to get there. And so we went from 600 to 13,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you made a very big jump.
I did not test and invest. And one of the things that we do at AppSumo is double down. And everyone's heard this phrase, which is annoying, double down, but no one understands it.
Right.
What you see when you do on my YouTube channel is actually test. I test a lot of videos. I found the one that worked, which is knocking on doors. And then I doubled down. Almost every one of my videos is doing challenge videos. And then I found that asking super rich billionaires or super rich millionaires what they regret and life advice worked. So my videos, like today, we dropped the founder of the Ethernet, the guy who created the plug that goes for internet.
Whoa.
He sold his company for $1 billion.
Yeah.
So those videos work. So that's all our content. And at AppSumo.com, and now I'm learning again, sometimes we have to learn ourselves to not, so I ran very fast to run all these 13,000 products. And then we went around from 70 people to 130 people. And then I spent $1 million on promoting it. And all of those were mistakes. So the past 2 years was learning how to be a better leader, learning how to understand, test and invest and double down, undoing a lot of those things, and then really focusing on the fundamentals of the business. So I don't know how the rest of the tech sector has been necessarily. It's not something I really worry about. I worry about my customer.
Yeah.
That's who I can control. I can worry about what I'm doing and if I can actually help them.
Yeah, you're kind of the tech component, and then your customers are just normal business owners for the most part.
Our hero, everyone should think about who's your hero. Who's your hero in your business? Who's the hero? And so our hero is a creator. Our hero is someone like, we flew creators out from Poland. This guy, Paul, Damien, and Isabella. They're a small team that created a product called Neuron Writer, and we flew them out to our Mexico team retreat. We were like actually down the street from you guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was talking to Jonathan about it.
Nice.
And we flew them in, and it was like, they're like, yeah, we're a small team, and we like making software, and we want to create software tools. They created an AI writer tool, which is probably the biggest category today. And they were like, we love you guys for promoting our product.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our hero. And so focusing on them, it's like, all right, you need more customers. All right, how else can we bring you more customers? And so part of our 3-year vision is, how do we become the number one best place for them to distribute their software?
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking your customer was the person buying that product. So you basically have this B2B side where you're trying to get these tech guys. And then you have your B2C side, which is just getting traffic to AppSumo for the everyday person like me to go try their thing.
Exactly. And so we find the creator and then make sure that they have a great product. We have a very thorough, it's about a 60-day process from when we meet you to where you can actually even be on the site.
Okay.
In terms of vetting, we have a beta link, we have a gauntlet, we have all these different things that we do internally.
Have you thought about ever doing like Airbnb where like anyone can just get on?
Well, that's what I tried.
That was the 13,000.
That was the 13,000.
You opened the floodgates.
That totally flopped.
Okay.
And that was a huge mistake. So if you take a step back, what's the learning for everyone else out there is that we could have easily tested. We could have gone from 600 to 650. And all of our customers were like, this sucks. But I wasn't actually listening. The actual buyer, the actual buyers were like, yo, it sucks. I can't find any tools. I come to you because I trust you and you just show me the best ones. And so from then on, I use tidycal.com, a product we created, and I have customer calls every single month. I use tidycal for scheduling, and I talk to partners every single month. The most basic thing in business that most people don't listen to is their customer.
In hindsight, what you should have did was create, say, this like beta marketplace. We got 100 products on it. We have not vetted them or anything.
100%.
You know, guys tell me what you think.
And then not spending $1 million cash promoting it.
Yeah.
We gave out $1 million cash to tell people to come on the marketplace. I would have rather had that $1 million.
Yeah, we could.
That was cool. Yeah, I mean,
give
it to the team. I don't know, buy a lot of Miatas, whatever you want to do. You know, that's what I like. And but it was, you know, since then though, it's like, all right, how do we learn from it? Like all businesses, and you've done this. You've had failures.
Yep.
The most successful people have had the most failures.
For sure. I've had lots of failures.
A lot of failures. You've had a lot of swings.
Yep.
Right. And so how do you learn from that thing? So with our marketing, instead of spending $1 million that we literally, I think the return was probably maybe 5 figures in terms of what we got for promoting $1 million worth of these tools.
You got a 0.05 ROAS.
Yeah, it was horrific. You know, instead of that, we invested in 2 business intelligence people. We invested in Snowflake. We invested in being able to see, like literally with our affiliate software, our affiliate promotion, we make our money back week 0.
Yeah. And
now we actually have really clear understanding, like, all right, your budget is $300,000 this month. If you're able to hit certain predictive targets, meaning you can spend $10,000 today and we can predict how much it'll make us. You can spend as much as you want.
I like what you said about testing the 10X ideas, right? Because, you know, the way I think about 10X is not that, hey, next year we have to 10X. Like that's just not realistic for most people, especially once you're established too. You know, from year 1 to year 2, then yeah, you could certainly 10X because the idea is finally getting traction. But it's like, yeah, you're not going to go from 80 million to 800 million next year. But do you have a plan that could get you to 800 million? Is there like a product that could possibly do it? And it's like, in your mind, yeah, the marketplace is a 10X idea. It didn't work. It is what it is. You just did too much testing on it, you know? Yeah. And then I'm sure you have 10 other ideas that could potentially 10X the company. And, you know, now it'll be, hey, instead of just blowing up what AppSumo is and changing the whole thing, you'll be like, hey, you know what? Let's try, I don't know, getting equity in these different businesses. And maybe that's a whole new thing.
There's a lot. I mean, I'd say there's 2 separate components that are really interesting. It's like, if you're just getting started out, most people thinking about 10X really just need to think about 1X, which is just getting $1.
Yeah.
That's the reality. They're like, how am I going to get 1 million subs? Like, dude, you don't even have 10. Just get to 10 subs. Get to 1 sub. You know, like,
let's 10X your 1 sub into 10.
Yeah.
And then let's get the 10 to 100.
You know, like, and that's a lot more, you know, in $1 million weekend, it's like, it's a lot easier than you think, and everyone can do that quicker. And with AppSumo.com, you know, like, I want us to have less ambitious goals and coming back on that. In that people are like, how are you trying to sell the business? How are you trying to do this? Like, look at all the most successful companies. Like Facebook is $1 trillion business. That's 20 years. Right? Warren Buffett, whatever, super rich. That's like 100 years. I don't know how long. You know, very long time.
Yeah.
And so why are we rushing so fast when it's very clear that all the companies that are actually sticking around that are in the trillions, you don't even have to be in the trillions, take some time.
Apple's been around like 40 years.
Exactly. It's actually finding the thing that really works. And most businesses, which is crazy, this is a thing to think about, they actually just found the thing that works, and that's the thing that's really grown their business. So Google, most of their money comes from ads.
Yeah.
That was invented like 100 years ago. Like AppSumo.com, it was like, find a cool product, get a good deal on it, promote it. That works.
That ain't new.
Yeah. And so it's really, do I have something that people want? And how do I just continually kind of compound growth around what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
And within AppSumo, what's interesting is that we're at a size, and this is how I've changed leadership. When I started, I was like, I got a 10X, because I think that's what we hear.
Yeah.
But now it's encouraging the team. How do I encourage the team to fail more? How do I encourage them to just do these small experiments? Like, okay, let's do 10X. Sure, we'll have a budget, we'll have allocation for it. But let's take Chris Gruy on. He runs all of our email marketing. It's around a $40 million business. And he's the leader of it. I'm like, Chris, you have a revenue number. Great. That's your number. Whatever else you want to do, have fun with it. Mm-hmm. So literally every week. And then when he does these tests, so Chris does all these amazing tests in our email. Should we send it at 4 p.m.? Should we send it at 9 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Should we put a timer at the top of the email or at the middle of the email?
Yeah.
Should we have long form emails or just short form emails? And each week he's now encouraged and he's now like, I'm inspiring him. I don't know if I'm inspiring. He's inspired me that I'm like, dude, keep trying, keep failing on this stuff.
Yeah. And
that's eventually how you're going to find some of these bigger wins.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like marketing is always a test, because you're just like, oh, there's this new way to market. Oh, like ads are getting expensive. Marketing can only be proved once your product and your offer is proven, So you're like, all right, we already know AppSumo is great. Now we get to mess around with email. He couldn't mess around with email if AppSumo didn't have a tested, tried and true product.
Yes.
And so like, I think people mix that up. Cause like the first thing I always do is I'm looking at the offer, the product, and it's like, dude, I wouldn't buy that. Why would I buy that? That makes no sense. And it's like, well, I think if we just get a better sales guy on it. I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
That's not going to.
Yeah. Most people think they have marketing problems and they really have business problems.
Correct. They got a product and offer problem.
That no one really wants it. I think the other thing, no matter what business in, and again, if you're in like lawn care, or if you're a content creator, or if you're in real estate, or if you're in e-commerce or whatever type of business, SaaS business, no matter what, get an email list.
Yeah.
Number one, get an email list.
Because how big is your email list at this point?
That AppSumo one, I don't know. Chris runs it, right? I just know that he has a revenue expectation. And
it's got to be millions, right?
Yeah. I don't know the actual number. And in Kagan.com, I'm not as interested as much at the quantity of my list. I'm more interested in the opens and clicks. So I'm actually curious about the engagement of my audience.
Yeah.
I think the audience, like if you have 30 to 50% opens of your email, amazing. Yeah. You're banging. People want to hear from you. And that's what really matters. But for any business, getting that started. So if you're a freelance videographer, you have a way of communicating with people on an ongoing basis that they could potentially be customers in the future. Like as I'm doing $1 Million Weekend, I've been blogging and writing an email for almost 20 years. Right. And so now that I'm saying, hey, I finally kind of have something I'd like for you to check out. I don't have to make a video. I don't have to hope they find out about it through some social media algorithm. I have a direct way of communicating with the audience and I would say potential customers that I've built over a very long period of time. So no matter what your business is, go to MailChimp, ConvertKit, Beehive, Substack, or we built SendFox.com. That's what I use. But whatever it is, just get that started.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Like we've kind of been referencing it, $1 Million Weekend. Like what exactly is it? It's a book. Okay. It's green. It's got a simple
3 words.
Yeah.
First word, million. It's how anyone can change their life in 48 hours.
Okay.
And learn about themselves, really learn about themselves, specifically within business. And it's something that I wish I had 15 years ago when I got started on my own journey. And there's just so much out there, right? There's so much business information out there. Then how is it that not everyone's getting it? How is it that not everyone's having success in business? And so it was solving that for myself, solving it with thousands of other people, and then putting it together in this book.
So like, explain to me, do I need to go on like a Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat? Do I go in the woods? Like, what does this weekend look like?
Yeah. Well, first off, I think the best way to do a business is have fun with it.
Okay.
Like no one wants to do something for a very long period of time they don't enjoy. That's called getting a day job.
The golden handcuffs.
Yeah. Even poor handcuffs or like middle-class handcuffs, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
And, thinking that we're stuck in that way and realizing there's other paths to it. And the $1 Million Weekend is you're not going to become a millionaire that weekend, but you're putting yourself on the path, getting a business literally started with paying customers in a weekend, just like I did, that will lead you to $1 million business and beyond. And so it's the exact steps to be able to get there.
So just give me a couple steps in the framework.
Yeah. So there's 3 parts of how the book is broken down. You got to start it, you got to build it, and you got to grow it.
Okay.
So building it and growing it is actually pretty easy. It's like, how do you come up with your ideas? How do you make sure it's $1 million opportunity?
Yep.
Right? Because you can work really hard on $1,000 opportunity.
Yep.
Right. Masturbation sock. And
hey, I do think that might have been,
there's something there with that.
There's something there. I just think you positioned it wrong.
Yeah, we'll work on it. That'll be a joint venture.
Yeah.
So, the building it and growing it is actually not so challenging. It's like, how do you come up with ideas? How do you make sure there's $1 million market? How do you do a 1-minute business model to make sure you can get to $1 million? And then how do you grow the business, which is exactly how I've grown Mint.com, how I've grown and run AppSumo.com specifically. Like, how do you get your customers? How do you turn them into profit? How do you run the business? But the first part, which is probably the most interesting and the most life-changing for the people who've gone through it, is really around how do you start? And really starting is how do you start with yourself? And basically the two major things that has held everyone back from success, really success, and they're fun, and I approach it in a fun way, is how do you get started? The fear of starting, the fear of not being ready, the fear of not having money, the fear of I need to learn more, the fear of like, I probably got to buy something else to finally figure this out. And that's just not true. And then the fear of asking. And how do people overcome that in a fun way so they can just get to the easy stuff, which is talking to customers, helping people, and then growing a business. And that's whether you want to make money for your groceries, like this woman, Jennifer, she's a kindergarten teacher in Dallas. She started selling cookies after she read $1 Million Weekend. And it was like, oh, this maybe sees candy. Maybe there's a lot of big $1 million, $1 billion candy businesses, but that's not necessarily her interest, but she got it going. And so how do you get started with that?
Yeah.
Right. And what are the different ways that you can get started right now in this moment?
Do you think that you need $1 million opportunity? Like, what about just a quick side hustle to go make, $5,000 a month?
Yeah. The way I look at that, and where most people, I would say, get wrong, is that making sure you're in a market that there's $1 million to be made. And what I mean by that is you're going to work hard either way. But part of the reason that AppSumo is now doing $80 million in revenue is I picked the right market.
Yeah. It's a big market cap.
Facebook, big market.
When you say $1 million to be made, you're not talking about the TAM. You're talking about your business making $1 million.
I'm talking about the TAM and then understanding your business to be able to get money out of that TAM. Meaning, so for people out there, it's how many people are there? How much are they willing to spend? And if there's not $1 million in it, go find something that there is. Let me give you a simple exercise.
But to be clear, just so everyone, because I'm even in my head, I'm like, okay, so their business, they're going to start, they don't have to make $1 million themselves. The TAM, the total addressable market, needs to be, there's got to be $1 million worth of buyers.
100%.
Okay, got 100%. It. So if they make $5,000 a month, that, and there was $1 million TAM, that would fit the criteria.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it's more, if you're going to start a business, you're going to do work either way, make sure the opportunity is there.
Right.
From what the market is, and at least your first version of what your business model can be. That's why I call it a 1-minute business model, because people are busy. And that's why I'm like, yo, you have 52 weekends to change your life. I don't want you doing complex stuff. I want you to move things very quickly. And so take example, this guy, Jake. Jake has kids like you. He's got 3 of them. He lives up in North Dallas. And Jake has had the same business idea for 2 years, which is super common. And they talk to their buddies.
One day I'm going to do
One day.
this.
And that's what, what Jake said? Jake said, I said, Jake, why now? Why is it, what's changing? He's like, I just didn't want to live a what if life.
Yep. Regret.
I didn't want to regret not giving it a chance.
I tell that to people all the time.
100%.
I'm like, dude, I can accept failure. I've lost millions. I've risked my reputation. Like, things have not always gone great. But guess what? I don't have any regret, because the last thing I want to deal with is, me saying, man, I wish I would have at least tried that thing.
100%.
Because where would I be if I would have tried it?
Exactly.
Because like even your marketplace failure, it's like, imagine if you didn't do it. You would probably still have it in your mind like, dude, you know what? The marketplace, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed I didn't start it 2 years ago because someone else started a marketplace that did really well. Exactly.
And then the whole thing that's fascinating about starting is that you get in the habit of starting. You have a weekend to do it, which everyone has available. That will lead you to the place. You have so many friends that have done well. What's the thing in common? They've tried a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
So how do we make starting really fun? So with Jake, it was like, all right, Jake, I just want you to get $1 right now. And this is something that everyone could do right then. So Jake called someone on the phone. It was I think it was his brother, Tom. He's like shaking
to get $1.
But most people who want to be millionaires never make $1.
Wow.
Most people who want to be millionaires never make $1 because they're too afraid. And so and these are the things that I was shocked as I put all this together, as I used my own process to even build this book. It was like, oh, here's exactly how I run businesses. Here's how I've started these businesses. Here's what I learned from Zuckerberg. And I gave it to him. And then they came back and I'm like, they haven't done anything. I'm like, why haven't you done anything? They're like, yeah, I was a little afraid. I didn't know where to get started. I thought I had to go research more. Oh, okay. Super common. It's not, and it's not,
I know.
It's
the paralysis analysis.
And so getting $1 with him, and that's something we have in the book, and we have other exercises for people to go through and stories to inspire people. Like, oh, I got $1. Is that all this is? Yeah, that's all this is. So the now, not how mindset has been one of the biggest breakthroughs, which is instead of thinking I need a Shopify site to start an e-commerce store, can I just go and pre-sell something like, hey, I'm starting a shirt business.
Yep.
I'm going to email my 3 friends who like golf shirts and be like, hey, right now, hey, do you guys want any golf shirts? I'm going to build it. It's probably going to look like this. Just copy an image from the internet. Do you guys want to PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, send me cash, crypto, whatever it is? Do you want to do that?
Anything.
I'll take anything. And if they say no, awesome. You didn't waste a lot of money and time spending on Shopify, researching Google ads, Facebook ads, building a YouTube channel, starting an anonymous Twitter account, trolling on TikTok or whatever that is. You actually find out right away so that you can say, well, you didn't want this, but you guys are golfing a lot. Have you guys ever had problems? And this is something we teach in the book, which is the biggest fear number 2, which is asking, you guys ever had problems getting to the golf course, or like when you're traveling with golf? Like, actually, yeah, we always have trouble shipping our golf clubs. What do you mean by that? So part 2 in the beginning of the book is, how do you become an asking expert?
Shipstick. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, but that's the exact same thing. So what other things?
Yep.
So part 2 in asking is, now that you've gotten better and you've practiced starting, right? Okay, I can do this. All business is at the end of the day is asking. Like every one of the billionaires I've interviewed, they're all, and this is one of the kind of subtle cues of success, is they're all really good at sales.
They are.
And what is a sale? A sale is an ask. And most people, oh, sales are bad. I don't want to bug them. I don't want to harass them. Well, why don't you find something you think will be helpful for them? Yeah. And so we work through the book. We do the coffee challenge. You heard of the coffee challenge? This is a life changer for people.
Okay, let's hear it.
So part 1, now, not how, which is like, all right, how do I just start doing things right away? Part 2 is asking. So how do you practice it? Look at my videos. Most of my successful videos are me on the street going up to someone that looks rich and being like, you kind of look pretty rich, man. Like, I'd love to ask you what you do for a living.
What's your number 1 identifier for someone that looks rich? Is it a watch?
The watches is definitely, and then the attire. Yeah. Definitely attire. Also white clothes.
Oh.
White clothes. You got a white clothes on because you're willing to get it dirty.
You're like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely a sign of wealth.
And I'm going to change my wardrobe.
Yeah.
Just all white on the podcast going forward. Like, guys, I don't know if you know, but
and with asking, and so we'll talk about the coffee challenge, but in asking, it's such a big fear for all of us. And asking is everything. It's everything. A raise, which is what Dieter, who read $1 Million Weekend, he got a raise and he got better at asking.
Yeah.
Jake did his own golf business. He asked, got sales 5 within a weekend, validated his business. He ended up selling golf trips.
Oh, I like that.
Golf trips mostly for dads, actually.
Yeah. Go to like Bandon Dunes and all
that's actually exactly.
That's
there's a place in St. George, some popular place. Is that in St. George?
No, that's in Oregon.
There's that. And then there's some place in St. George. So he's coordinating a trip to St. George. And he called up 5 different people. Here's a golf trip. Here's the amount I want to sell it for. Let me see. These are people that he was familiar with. He did it in his zone of influence. He asked them. He's like, hey, can you just Venmo me right now as a refundable deposit?
Yeah.
And they're like, sure. And he's like, it works. I'm like, yeah, it works.
I've pre-sold many things that I wasn't sure if I was going to actually make it or not. And I got that idea from Tim Ferriss a long time ago in 4 Hour Workweek.
Exactly.
Like what Tim would do was he'd be like, all right, I would test ideas. And he wanted to test it to the mass market, not just his friends. So he would just run like Google ads, PPC stuff, and spend a couple $100.
100%. So that is definitely one way of validation. That's number 3. The only thing I tend to discourage people a little bit from that. I think there's easier ways where you have people who you can help that want to have you help them. Then you don't have to learn about landing pages and you don't have to learn about ads.
His way's hard.
And it takes money, and hopefully you become an expert in Google ads or Facebook ads to do this stuff.
Yeah.
But coming back on it, the coffee challenge, and this is literally life-changing for people who are willing to face themselves, to people who are willing to find their creator's courage, which creator's courage is when you're like, I'm afraid of doing this and I can do it anyways. I'm afraid, and you do it anyways. That's creator's courage. And so the coffee challenge is when you go to Starbucks, when you get tea, when you go to any restaurant, anywhere. You could do it with anything. I did it 2 days ago at our hotel. You go up to them and you make your order, whatever it is, and you ask for a discount. And you say, Noah sent you. Or you say, I'm reading $1 Million Weekend, and this is part of a practice that I need to work on. And they'll say, why? And you're like, oh, I'm just reading this book, $1 Million Weekend. And they'll go look at their manager, or they'll look at you strange, and then they go, no. They go, no. And you know what happens? You go, oh, okay, thanks. And you move on. And you realize this small, silly, fun, but scary practice of just a simple ask is all that's leading you up to asking for someone to be a customer, to asking someone to be your partner, to asking someone to be on your show, to asking someone for a job.
Yep.
And how do you get better at this skill? Because I'm still afraid when I ask.
Oh yeah.
It's still like, they're going to say no to me. Or for instance, you were talking about watches. One of my more viral videos recently is I asked first class passengers what they do for a living, which is it's very awkward because you're going to see me for the next 8 hours in the plane when I was flying back from Spain.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy in the lounge. We paid $5,000 for the flight. And I saw a guy in the lounge with an AP, like a Audemars Piguet. Thank you. Yes, you can tell I'm fancy on that. And I was like, well, he's definitely going to reject me. And he looks like a golf bro. And he's not going to be nice to me.
Bro.
Yeah. And he's got this literally, almost $100,000 watch on. He's going to be rude to me. I'm not going to talk to him.
Yeah.
He was so nice. And he was so happy to chat. And he was so happy to share. He actually got rich with signs.
Signs.
Like, outside your building, there's a sign.
Yeah.
That's what he's gotten
business,
rich.
Yep.
I was like, signs, so cool. And he was so nice to me. But when we are beginning, we're kind of afraid and we're like, well, they're not going to want this. It's like, no, you don't know what the upside can be.
Yeah.
But the downside is literally 2-3 seconds of a little discomfort. And if you can just get over that, you can have anything you want. Because if you ask for it, you can actually get it.
Yeah.
But no ask, no get.
Yeah.
And so he was awesome. And then he introduced me to his buddy who he's the owner of Sbarro's.
Yeah.
He owns all the Sbarro's in Chicago. He's like, oh yeah, you should talk to my buddy. Are you doing YouTube? Yeah. And then his kids came over. They're like, oh, they love TikTok.
Yeah.
You're on YouTube and TikTok. I'm like, yeah. So and that was literally just because I said, hey man, I really like your watch.
Yeah. Dude, that's how it goes, is just having the courage to, reach out to a stranger. And even if you don't have an ask, like you're saying, of like, hey, will you do this thing with me? Like just the ask is, will you talk to me? Like, can we have a conversation? Even though you're not saying, hey, can I talk to you? It's just like you're striking up the conversation. It's funny because we were both in Mexico, like you said, recently. And so I was in first class on the way to Cancun. And dude, I didn't even pay attention, but so I sat next to this guy and he knew me and he's in solar doing really well, all that. And so we chatted it up. He got 4 hours of consulting. So he was living life. But the guy in front of me was with his wife and I had my 3 kids. So we were all in first class. So my wife was behind me, kids, the nanny. And so we basically took the whole first class ourselves. And so I had this guy next to me who knew me. And then in front of us was, a husband and his wife, and young, kind of similar age. And she's like, yeah, we have 2 kids. It's great. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And, we're just talking. And then after, we're all waiting for our bags. And I look at the guy and I feel so dumb because I should know this, but I look at him, I'm like, dude, you're Cody Bellinger. He's a famous baseball player who's a free agent. He's going to probably sign for $150 million. And obviously I'm a baseball. I should have recognized him immediately, but I guess I'm just a YouTuber now, so I don't recognize people. And then I was like, yeah, dude, congrats on crushing it, man. You're about to get the bag. He's like, yeah, dude, it's going to be great. And we just started talking about baseball stuff. And for anyone who follows his career, I was just asking him, I was like, hey, you had a couple of tough years the last few years. This dude was the MVP of the entire league 4 years ago. And then he had some really rough seasons in between. And then he bounced back this year right before he became a free agent. And I was like, what happened? And so we just talked tactical things of what happened because I understand. Just like you were like, dude, nobody ever talks to me about AppSumo and how we run the intricacies of it. I'm like, I understand the granular parts of what you're talking about. And so people really relate to that when you can find commonality.
Totally.
And expertise. And I mean, not everyone has it, but you could talk to a billionaire and you can 100%. Have a conversation.
I mean, all that started because you just said hello.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful move. On my flight to Spain, there was a guy sitting across from me in first class. And I actually think first class is maybe the cheapest ticket to get. It's the cheapest ticket to get in terms of meeting someone that could literally change your life.
Oh yeah.
I sat across from this guy. And now that I'm into asking, for $1 Million Weekend, I'm like, all right, what else can I ask for? There's no limit. And there really isn't. And so the guy sitting next to me, and this is, I wasn't even filming at this point. I was like, yo, man, you look interesting. Like, how's it going? Can I have your socks? You know, in first class, you get the socks.
Wait, what kind of sock was it?
It was like the black socks. Cause you can
No, I think it was a different sock.
It was not for my new business, for my next venture.
Okay. All right.
No, that was good. That was good.
Okay.
And I was like, can I get your socks? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like, I have a venture about a certain business I can't tell you about. And then I was like, oh, you know, it's cool. You're working. Like, what are you off to Spain for? Like, I lived there half the year. And he's like, oh, I'm actually a vice president at MasterCard. I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, I run a software deal site, a marketplace for entrepreneurs called AppSumo.com. He's like, great. If you ever need credit card processing help, if you ever have any restrictions, like, here's my card. And it kind of really put in perspective, like, kind of an easy way to be around successful people is to be where they are, which is first class.
Yeah.
And then secondly, just because I asked him, like a really quick light ask, there wasn't like, have to have this big expectation. And because I've practiced it a lot, now I have the VP of MasterCard's contact information. And now we can, or buddies on LinkedIn. He actually emailed me.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he didn't know like I'm, anybody. There's nothing exclusive that like, oh, you're in YouTube. It's just because I was around and I asked politely.
Yeah. Yeah. And the YouTube stuff, and this is what I tell people about content and personal brand. It's like, it's more so validation later on. Because it's like, you meet this guy, and how are you guys going to stay connected? I mean, you're not going to text this guy every day. Like, you're going to follow each other on LinkedIn or whatever. And that's how you guys are going to stay connected. He's going to see what's going on with your life. You're going to see what's going on with his life. And that's what it is. And it's like, for anyone, I could talk all day about network and relationships, because for me, the podcast is like the biggest way to do it. And, you know, you do one guest, they introduce you to another guest and another guest.
100%.
And whatever happens. And then guess what? Like, you maintain the relationship through social media. And it's like, man, how can you compound your network quickly? Well, like, start making content so people can like stay up to date with what you're doing. Yeah.
It's been one of my, and this is part of growing the business. And everyone knows your network is valuable, right? Everyone kind of knows it, but no one does it.
Yeah.
That's like these cliches of life. Like, I know I'm supposed to meet people because it's not fun. It's not interesting. It's like, I don't want to go to some networking event to meet people I don't like and to ask them what they do for a living. So the way I like to approach it is connect with pre-influencers, just like me and you connected super early on. And so the easiest way to do that is just look anywhere online for anyone that you find interesting and just send them a thank you.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, I really like your stuff. Maybe we do something together. If not, I just think it's super cool. And that could be someone on LinkedIn that sent you an actually interesting message, which no one does. And they all send you the Calendly link, which is fucking annoying. You know,
or LinkedIn is just spam.
Or you see someone blogging, or you see a lot of times, one of my favorite ways to connect people is when I get pitched a service provider, like, hey, I think you should try our new email platform or try this. And I'm like, I really like how you're approaching it.
Yeah.
There's this guy, Daniel on. Let's just stay in touch. I don't know where it's going to happen, but eventually maybe I can hire you or we can work together or partner. So just look for the people earlier because they're available. When you're trying to, as we've gotten more popular, it's harder for us to be open to that because we're just busier.
Yeah.
The other thing is, how are you in the radius of success? How are you in the first class seat? Because people think 5 average of the 5 friends. It's like, well, dude, I don't have any friends. A lot of people are like, I don't have any friends. All my friends have day jobs, or all my friends are busy. So how do you just be around it? Can you be in Ryan Pineda's group?
Yeah.
You know, you have a group. I'm pretty sure. Can you be in that? Can you go intern for him? Like go do something for free.
Too.
You have interns for free or paid or even paid. Just be physically or virtually in the area of success. And I was very lucky to be around the Zuckerbergs and Peter Thiels and Dustin Moscovitzes. And
you would have did it for free.
That was everything. And that led me now to be able to feel confident and have learnings to be able to run a larger business. But I was in the radius of success.
You just got to observe how they did it. And I think what's interesting too is you also have the perspective of hindsight, because as you're experiencing it, you don't fully understand it. And then, 10 years later, you're like, oh, I get what he was doing back then, even though he may not have even knew what he was doing. Yeah. But that is why it ended up working out.
I mean, one of the things with $1 Million Weekend and AppSumo was a subconscious observation of Mark, where he hired the 75-year-old woman to be his business coach. And we were 24-year-old, super cocky, like assholes at that time. And I just remember, like, I don't know why you would do that. And now, like, I try to get coaches for everything.
Yeah.
For everything. Like almost every area of my life, I'll have a coach. And
what kind of coaches you got right now?
Right now, I have a business coach. I have a CEO coach. When I go back to Spain, I have a squash coach.
Oh,
squash.
You're learning squash.
Yeah, like playing squash. It's like the British, I don't know. Play squash, boxing coach. And then you start thinking like even $1 Million Weekend. I was like, how do I talk to people who've had successful books and just ask them what they do? So then I call these different people or I contact them or ask for referrals. So I'm like, can I pay you? Like Vanessa Van Edwards. She's put out 2 really popular books. I was like, can I pay you or take you out to lunch and you just actually rip apart how I talk about the book? So for an hour and a half, she just insulted me. And I was just like, this is excellent. And now as I come and talk about the book, I feel more confident. I feel more prepared. Moody Glasgow, he's my marketing coach. Mm-hmm. So I pay him money, but I didn't have some special access to him. I just cold emailed him on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, I'd like to pay you to see if you can coach me and AppSumo.com with our marketing. And he's been phenomenal. He's been a game changer for the business. And now every one of my leaders at AppSumo, they're not mine. Every one of the leaders at AppSumo has a coach. So Sean, who's now our head of revenue, the junior sales guy, started out just like a lot of the people starting out in your company. You know, he's had a few coaches even. He's got Dan Putt from Reboot.io. They do business coaching. That's what we use. But he also has a guy who is the head of revenue at Outdoorsy, which is one of the largest RV sites for RV marketplaces. So everyone gets the coach.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so necessary. Somebody was asking me, dude, like, what's the best way to start a business? Well, I'm going to say, hey, just read $1 Million Weekend. Number one. Number two, before I knew this as an existence, I said, well, I think there's 2 things you need to understand with a business that you're going to start from scratch. Number one, you got to have like the right strategy first and foremost. Because and your way of saying that is, well, I better have $1 million TAM because like already from the beginning, if nobody wants it, then you're going to fail. It doesn't matter how good you are. I was like, so you got to have the right strategy. Number one. Number two, you got to have the right feedback as you go through it because, you know, at the end of the day, okay, I know real estate's good and then you're just not doing it right? How would you know if you're doing it right or not? And then like, cause I'll talk to students, I'll be like, hey, so you're not having success. Tell me, how many offers did you make last week? And they'll be like 0. And I'm like, what did you do then? Like, how did you think you would get a deal if you don't even make an offer? But they don't know. In their mind, they think, oh, well, if I like make 1 offer, it'll get accepted. And I'm like, no, like 99% will say no. So think about that. I need you to make 100 offers this. And then they're like,
good.
Oh, but if you don't have that feedback, how would you know why you're not being successful? And it's things that are like intuitive to us where it's like, well, yeah, duh, you need to make a lot of offers. You need to get a lot of leads. You got to
100%.
try a lot of products.
I mean, within asking, which is again part of $1 Million Weekend, right in the beginning, how do you actually sell? How do you actually get feedback? That's all selling is. So it's called listening options transition. How do you ask someone? You listen to them.
Yeah.
You like golf. What do you like about golf? Have you ever gone on a golf trip? Oh, you have gone on a golf trip. What did you like about it? Oh, when's your next golf trip? Oh, you don't have a next golf trip. Now I move to option.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, where would you want to go? You want to go to Badlands?
Bandon Dunes.
Bandon Dunes. Big golfer over here. Big mini golfer. Oh, you want to go to Bandon Dunes? Oh, okay. Well, how about in April, we have a $5,000 trip. It's going to be 5 people. It's going to be sick. Is that something you'd be interested in? Because it sounds like that was a problem you had. You are interested? Okay, great. You want to put a transition? Let me transition you to a deposit today. And so all that is listening, getting feedback from your customer, seeing if you can solve their problem, because maybe you can't.
Yep.
And if you can, transition them to the next step. Like I would say one of my keys of success is I think feedback is a gift. So I think you're totally spot on.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you're not getting feedback because you're not putting out offers, but anyone right now on their phone can text their best friend, can text an old boss, can text anyone or message anyone and be like, what is one thing I can do better?
Yeah.
Tell me just one thing. And that is such an easy way you can improve your relationship. Like my girlfriend, I need to be calling her more. She told me this morning. I was like, baby, how's it going? She's like, I'm a little disappointed in you. And I was like, thank you. Well, I'm not thank you. Thank you for telling me.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was like, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, while you're traveling, I need you to contact me more. And I was like, oh, I wasn't as aware. Thank you. Now I can improve. But unless you get asked for the feedback you get the feedback, you're not gonna be able to improve.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. We've been talking about golf a lot. I'll tell you the story of how I became a pro golfer. It aligns with $1 Million Weekend. So one day, and by the way, the definition of a pro is that you get paid to do it. So that's why I'm a pro. I asked, or I was just thinking about this one day. Like I just started golfing. This was in 2021. And I was taking all my employees and we were going on like Fridays and stuff. I was like, this is great culture building and et cetera. But after a while, I was like, all right, dude, I'm tired of golfing with these guys. Like also too, they're not working on Friday if they're out with me golfing. So there's a problem going on here and I'm covering it. for them. So I'm like, there's probably a better way to do this. And I started to think about it, and I was like, well, at the time I didn't do any one-on-ones because I didn't want to ever coach that way. And I was like, man, but I do want to golf like every week. So what if I just did one-on-ones while I golf? Because now I'm not even changing. Like I'm not taking any time out of my day. I'm already doing it. And so I was like, would people pay to golf one-on-one? I've never heard of it. And I started to think about it, and I was like, would I pay to go golf with Cardone or a Noah Kagan or whoever, right? Like that I wanted to go learn from, that would give me 4 hours of like one-on-one access. Like how else would it get any better? Would I want a 1 hour Zoom or 4 hours in person on the golf course, right? I was like, this is a way better offer than like a one-on-one Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know if people are going to do it because like I don't even know how many people golf, and
totally.
Let's just test it, right? So I did one Instagram story. I was like, guys, here's the deal. I don't know if I'm ever going to do this again because I didn't. So there's scarcity in the sale, but there's also truth to it. I said, I'm going to do a golf with me. We'll spend 18 holes playing at a nice course here in Vegas. We'll have lunch together and we'll consult. To ask me any questions you want. Wow. I'll shout you out on social media. I was like, it's $2,500. And I was like, I don't know if people are going to buy it. We'll see. Dude, literally my inbox got flooded. We sold 20 of them from one story. I didn't do any other marketing. I was like, holy crap. I underpriced it. I was like, I'm going to be golfing the next 4 months. I was like, I can't believe there was that much demand for this random idea that had no precedent. So anyways, I just did it, and I kept raising the price as the years went on. It went to $2,500 to $5,000 to $10,000 just because I started golfing less in this way, and like just the demand increased. So I would say, I mean, doing this little product has made not like front end millions, but it's made millions from the people that have come, because they're serious people. Like the people that would pay $5-10 to golf with you, they are running a business. They're doing something that they want to collaborate or ask or whatever, right? And so it's led to other things down the road, investments, opportunities. But even on the front end of things, like as far as golf revenue, I think I've probably made like $300 to $400 of golf revenue.
Damn. I also love how fast you tested that. You're like,
it was a weekend. That was the definition of $1 million weekend. I just had the idea. I made a story. I made a PayPal link. There was no landing page. There was nothing. It was just like, hey, here's the link. Just go pay for it.
I'm going to put you in the second edition.
Do it.
And I think the thing is that
you already have golf stories.
Yeah. But I think what people need to hear that story and why it's so great is that what do most people do?
They get self-conscious. Like, dude, would people really do this?
And then they research. Okay, I'm going to watch another 3 hours of YouTube. Then they're like, okay, I kind of think it's going to work. I'm going to probably build a landing page.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'm going to buy some ads. You know what? I probably should be on social media. So I'm going to go do golf content.
Yeah. I gotta build my golf content before I ask for this.
Then I got to bug the shit out of my girlfriend telling her about it. Right? Like, or my buddies, at work because you don't like your day job.
Yeah.
And 12 months later, you hadn't done nothing. You don't even find out if you have one customer. And you found out, and look, you could even do this with a smaller audience, much smaller audience.
Yeah.
But you're able to find out not even in a weekend, in a day, which I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah. So that's been a product that I did not expect. Like I really wasn't. Then there are products where you're like, dude, this is going to crush. Like I love this. And then it does not crush. You're like, oh my gosh, dude, how did that not work? And then you get the feedback after and you're like, oh, that's 100%. Not what they wanted. Okay.
Well, and we there's a success bias where we think we're great as we get success. And the reality is we are good, but we're not great all the time. And so how do you connect with your customer quicker and cheaper and faster so you can find out really easily, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, I won't give you the money. Yes, I'll give you money. So then you can test and then invest down the line.
I love it. So you mentioned your girlfriend.
Yes.
And you said she's pregnant. You met her in Spain.
Yes.
And you're being a bad boyfriend right now.
I actually do need to check because she's pregnant.
Yeah. This is good. And while he's checking, Noah was asking me a bunch of questions about being a dad, about, roles in the household. I just celebrated 10 years of marriage.
So I got my priority. Yeah. Do you keep talking?
I'm going to keep talking.
I just tell the girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, She's not feeling well. She's got morning sickness. And so priority is actually being available for the thing you say is your priority. So when she's texting, I need to be available.
Exactly. So I'll fill everyone in. Noah's girlfriend is pregnant. And so they met on Bumble, he told me, right?
Yes.
Met on Bumble, and he's trying to decide like, hey, I got to get ready to be a dad. What are you going to do?
It's priority, just prioritize what's important. And for me, it's amazing and exciting and kind of unreal. Like I text her that she's mommy, and it's one of the most exciting things I've ever done.
When's she due?
July.
Okay.
So it's still early. By the time this comes out, she'll be about 4 months. And I'm a little shocked how hard it is for her and like how much women have to go through to be pregnant. Like, the emotions that go through, the hormones that change in them, like puking, the way the body feels, the way they eat, and a lot more respect, a lot more. And that's empathy. You have to understand it. You have to experience it. You have to see it. And what women go through to be pregnant, and excited, excited what the future holds with it. So
what do you think is going to change in your life? Because right now we're testing. You don't know until baby's here. Whatever you're thinking right now is probably going to not really happen. But what are you expecting?
Yeah. So it is, if you think about how I approach this book, how I approach AppSumo, it is like, oh, is there a coach out there?
Okay.
Right. Is there someone and there are a lot of either coaches or people who've had babies that I can go and talk to learn from. There's also people like I ask you questions and then I start getting information to make better decisions. In terms of what the future holds, it's more just being available.
Yeah.
It's more being available and not, even now and I think rightfully so. She's like, hey, you're out working. Like, I need you to call me more often. Or if you're working, I need to come with you. And I was like, you're right. And so being available, and this is the last trip I'm doing without her. Mm-hmm. That's why you were really kind to be able to move this earlier. So I'm available. So my dad was in and out, and I don't want it to be that way for me.
Mm-hmm. The reason the wealthy way exists is because for me, I just kept seeing this problem in entrepreneurship, right? Like problem number one is what the $1 Million Weekend solves of like, hey, money. How do I create a business in money? And it's like, great, I created it. Now what? Well, now you have new problems. Because now you have this tree of choices that are about to happen of, do I scale the business? Do I start hiring people? Okay, well, now I'm slammed because I thought that I was getting freedom from my 9-to-5, but I bought myself a 24/7. Okay.
That's good.
Yep.
That's got my bar though. That's good.
And now I got like all this responsibility. And now instead of the company depending on me, or instead of me having to just do my job and whatever happens to the company happens, everyone's job depends on me and my performance and my decisions and how I choose to run this business. Then now I have to deal with the customers. Now I have to, worry about payroll and big decisions. So now you have this huge decision tree happening. And then if you had a family before, or you have a new relationship or you have kids, it all just got way more complex.
Yeah.
And that's what the wealthy way aimed to solve was like, okay, well, what do you do? Because you're having some success in business. How do you balance it? Because you still need your health. You still need your faith. You still need your relationships. The money part, you finally figured it out.
Yeah.
And like all these things you got to balance, and it's hard.
What did you find shifted for you?
I think what shifted for me was two things. Early on in my career, I already knew how to delegate business. I was playing pro baseball, but I was still flipping houses. So I was forced into not doing things myself because it was either quit baseball or quit real estate. And I was like, well, why can't I do both? And it was like, well, I have to play baseball. Like there's no delegating me on the field. So that's an obvious thing there. But could I do real estate and have other people fix the houses and list them and find the deals? Well, yeah, I could do that. I just have to figure out how. And so that's what I did. And so I probably flipped 80 houses while playing baseball. And by the time I retired, it was like, all right, well, now I'm 100% here. I'm about to go crush it because I've been like half focused.
I love that.
So I learned delegating from the beginning. And that is like part of the wealthy ways. You're going to have to delegate in your business in order to get your time back. There's no other way. The second thing I realized was that you said this, but what you say your priorities are so different than what your schedule would tell you for most.
100%.
It's like,
100%.
yo, if you want to tell me family's a priority or faith or your health, I'm not going to take your word for it. show me your calendar the last 30 days and let me see how many hours you spent with the things that you say are a priority.
100%.
And that'll tell me. And it's like the results don't lie.
Yeah. No, I think both of those are beautiful. One for myself, I think one of the game changers for anyone, especially if you're a team of one and you want to be a team of many, is just hiring an assistant.
Oh, yeah.
I use hiremymom.com.
No.
Use the site?
No.
It's a great site.
Actually, the stay-at-home moms and stuff, they can do like little tasks.
Yeah, it's great. You get basically generally women that want to stay at home, and most of them are like badass professionals that you can find at $30 an hour, $40 an hour. So you can have an amazing talent that you can get at an affordable price. And then that's how you can start delegating. But what I noticed, Andre Jeek, right?
Yep.
I love this guy. I just actually connected with him yesterday, and he's 2 million subs.
Yep.
And I was like, Andre, walk me through your team. Like, how do you?
It's him.
Yeah. I was like, who does the editing? Andre. Who does the thumbnail? Andre. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, you do all this? I don't do anything on my YouTube channel. That's why I'm spending 5 to 10% a week max.
Yep. Me too.
Max on it. And it's a pretty top channel for YouTube for business stuff. And so how I'm thinking of shifting is like, one, for him, it's a big jump. So maybe how do you do small jumps? How do you do small tests, small experiments? So let me try hiring someone. Okay, it didn't work out. Okay, cool. One more try. Start again. And so as I'm moving and shifting into fatherhood, it's how am I delegating? How am I making sure that I am actually available in my day? Like right now, I don't do any meetings before noon with AppSumo. Like there's no work meetings.
Yeah.
So I have time. And it's like, oh, I can do that as an entrepreneur. That's what's available for everyone. And so it's just being more present and delegated so that I can actually be a good father.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is intentionality with what's important to you. And so for you, you're like, hey, before 12, I want to dedicate to my family. After that, well, it doesn't even have to be only your family. It could be your health and
whatever it is you want.
Yeah, that's just Noah time. And then from 12 to whatever, that's AppSumo time and YouTube time and however you schedule it out. For me, I've always said this. It's like, I'm going to be here 9 to 5, Monday to Thursday. That's work time. So my wife knows, don't even worry about trying to talk to Ryan or do anything because he's fully 100% in at work. Now, will she text me here and there? Yeah, but like, I am not texting my wife at work right now. What you doing right now? And she's not texting me because it's just like we have that understanding. And before 9, that's all Ryan by himself time. There's no kids. There's no wife. That's me getting my workout in. That's me reading my Bible and praying and working on my faith side of things. And I do that all before 9. After 5, it's all family time. So after 5 o'clock, I'm going home. I'm having dinner with the family. I'm putting the kids to bed, hanging out with Mindy. We're watching a movie. It's all that. And then on weekends, it's the same thing. It's just family time, 24/7 on the weekends. And then Friday is just golf day, where hopefully I'm getting paid that day. But yeah, Friday, I'm golfing. And whatever happens, happens. If I golf from, say, like 9 to 1, I may come to the office after if I want to. Yeah. But like, once again, it's just up for whatever I want to do.
Isn't that so beautiful? Like what you got me reflecting on is the beauty of entrepreneurship where you've crafted the life you actually want to live.
Exactly.
And the thing that people are like, well, Ryan's this and Noah's that. You had a day job as a baseball player and you didn't just go have 80 houses all at once. Like how long did that take you?
Well, I became a realtor in 2010. I didn't flip my first house until 2015. 5 years to really analysis paralysis and finally get to it. And
by getting to it by 2020, it sounds like
I flipped hundreds by then.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you started the YouTube and you started other things, but it was the beauty of getting started.
Yeah.
It took you some time, which is the reality. Right? Like I had an idea for a business and I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to more friends. I need to be ready for it. It's like, we're never ready.
No, we're never ready.
Right? Just like you're saying, maybe a father, it's like, you're going to be 100% ready? No, but you'll solve it. So let's get started so that it leads you to a point where like, as you say that, I'm like, oh, Ryan doesn't want to be with his kids in the morning. And that's my own perception of it.
Yeah.
But the beauty is you're clear on what your boundaries are. You're clear on your relationship with your wife and what works for your family and your life.
Yep, exactly.
And you set it up that way. And that's so sick of entrepreneurship. Like you would have the life you actually want to live. You don't, I have to go to the office. Oh, I have to do this. No, you don't have to do shit.
Yeah.
You can actually create it. But guess what? You're not gonna be able to get there by 2023, 2024 and beyond if you didn't get started in 2015.
Yeah. And I know a lot of guys that they're like, dude, I want to like hang with the boys on Saturday. I want to go do this, the tea time and whatever, right? I usually don't golf on the weekends because that's family time, right? Even though there's more opportunity to golf on the weekends with friends and whatever else. Like even with speaking opportunities, I rarely speak, you know, on other people's stages or even travel for podcast. And the reason is I just don't really want to leave my family, and I don't have to. It's like,
good for you.
You know, if you create the thing that people want, they will come to you. You know, it's like people come here from all over the world. I'm like, look, I ain't going over wherever, right? Our events, we hold a massive event called WealthCon every quarter, 1,000+ people. It's always in Vegas. And people are like, how do you get people to like come to the same event? Like, shouldn't you have to switch cities to like get new people? And I'm like, I mean, that's one strategy. If you suck, if you can think of a different way to do it and you're really good, then it's possible. You could get anyone to come anywhere if it's good enough. Yeah. Like people, I think about that with like Burning Man and stuff. Like people go to a desert in the middle of nothing every year because the opportunity for whatever they want is so good. Yeah. And it's like Coachella, it's the same thing. It's like that place sucks. It's just a desert.
When did you have the vision of life being this way for yourself?
I would say early on, I was just only like baseball. And so I was so used to, hey, we have a season and we have an off season. And so in the off season, I just train and I just have fun. In the season, I go to work. And then as I got into business, I was like, all right, well, I don't want to work weekends. I just never did. I was like, I just don't want to. I would rather have a break. And I mean, even being a Christian, I was like, Sunday's the Sabbath. I'm definitely not working Sunday. I just want to go to church and hang out with my family. And that's all I want to do. That's how I grew up. And then Saturday, I was like, but I don't even want to work Saturday either. And so it just became this thing of like, how much could I get done Monday to Friday? Yeah. And then, you know, I was like, let's maximize it because as you know, so many entrepreneurs work 80-hour work weeks, but they don't. They work 30, but it takes them 80 hours. Yes. And I just look at it and I'm like, so what'd you do this week? Oh, well, you know, we got that proposal out. I'm like, okay, that took 20 minutes. What else did you do? Oh, well, you know, I had this meeting with this big guy. How long was the meet? It was an hour. What else did you do? Yeah. And it's like, people just waste so much time doing nonsense. And I'm like, dude, if you constrained yourself to getting the same task done in 30 hours, you could do it. You just have so much time that you spread it out. It's Moore's law. Or not Moore's law, Parkinson's law. That's what Parkinson's law says. You'll take the exact amount of time that you need to do something. 100%. As long, whatever it is.
That is something I even noticed now having a baby coming in that how much time I'm wasting. I was just noticing that, okay, I'll work till 8. And then the girlfriend said, I need you to be done by 6.
And you still get the same stuff done.
I just get the important stuff done. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
You delegate the rest, right?
Yes.
And it still gets done.
It not all gets done, just the things that matter get done. And then it's like, if I don't need to do it, like who else can I get to do it? And make very clear expectations about making sure that they know when and what they have to get done.
Exactly. So you just created a different process because you set a new constraint on yourself.
Yes.
Somebody told me this. Well, not somebody told me. I heard it from Craig Rochelle on a podcast. He goes, hey, your limitations create innovation.
100%.
And I was like, interesting. When you have financial limitations, but you have this goal, you have to figure out how to innovate to get there with what little you have. If you have time constraint, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I still have all these tasks that we need to get done.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do it? Or as a normal person would think, do I just need to do less? Because I can't innovate at all. I'm so pathetic that I can't figure out a new way to do something. Like I'm just that uncreative. I don't think that's the answer. I think we could look at all of our tasks today and say, yeah, well, I would have to change this. I would have to delegate that. I would have to train somebody or hire somebody to do this. It's not going to happen overnight, but you could be like, yeah, I could never work from, 9 to 12 again, and I could just spend it with my family if I did this.
There's also the reality, and this is something that was a game changer for me about what level of life do you want to live? And years ago, I started just writing a fantasy story of my own life.
Okay. Were you riding dragons and stuff or what?
Yeah, not dragons, but it's like, all right, I want to bike across America. Okay, that's crazy. I'm going to live in Spain and America. No way. I'm going to go on Joe Rogan's show one day. Oh, okay. I'm going to go and interview billionaires. No, okay. And then you start just thinking crazy as shit.
Were you on Joe Rogan?
I have not been yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Because the other things you just said, you did.
Some of these things have happened. Not everything has happened. And each year, and especially, I actually noticed I started doing the fantasy year, and you could do it every year. That's what I do. When I feel the most stuck and when I feel the most low or frustrated, and you start realizing, and this is the thing I asked about your vision of life where you are today. There's a lot of different goal setting ways, and I don't actually think we should get into it, but recognizing and realizing the level that you can actually be at.
Yes.
That you can be on a private jet one day.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing that, like, to you, be resourceful, but you have to kind of have some ideas where you want to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just like me. Sometimes you're paddling very fast in the wrong direction.
Mm.
And so the fantasy year was just a nice kind of playful way to just be like, let's just write anything. Like, I want to film the Oscars, maybe if you're a video person. I want to play at maybe some cool golf course.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I want to build a golf course.
That's a crazy fantasy. I like that one.
It's going to combine my love of golf and real estate. I'm going to build a development and a course and in a sick location that like everyone would want to go to and own a second home in. That's my fantasy.
Nice.
Yeah. And obviously, like you said, is it something you would do for free? And I'd be like, yeah, dude, if I could build this sick thing, I would do it for free.
I love that.
But what's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity is like massive, you know?
Isn't it interesting also, by the way, quick thing, come back to $1 Million Weekend on that. You don't have to build a whole golf course. You can literally pre-sell and validate if people will want to come and buy houses or buy lots or buy memberships.
Bro, let me tell you how I'm going to do it. I already know how I'm going to do it.
He's like $1 million protege.
Yeah. Well, this would be the $1 billion weekend if it worked out. So I'm already like, I've put this vision out there for, you know, the podcast. So people listening, they've heard it before. I had this vision like maybe 4 months ago. The reason I had the vision, I was in Palm Springs and I was at Larry Ellison's private golf course. So this dude bought his own course just for him like 10 years ago in Palm Springs. And he has this massive house. And dude, to have your own golf course, I was like, that is freaking crazy. This dude. And I was talking to his staff because one of his staff was like, dude, I'm a big fan. I was like, how long have you worked for Larry? He's like, 10 years. I go, how often is he here? He goes, a week out of the year. I was like, so you guys just take care of this course like a week at a year. He's like, yeah, it's crazy. And on one hand, at first I was like, that's insane to have that kind of wealth. And then on the other hand, I was like, what a waste. You know, I was like, what a waste that this beautiful thing doesn't get used. That's a travesty. So then it just sparked this new idea where I was like, what if I had my own course, but it wasn't just for me? You know, it's for my buddies and friends and people. Yeah. And I was like, but how do you make that sustainable? Like, and then I'm like, okay, well, you make membership and country club and all that. And I was like, okay, where would it go? And I started thinking about the coolest places on earth. And I was like, okay, you could go here, here, here. And I was like, okay, well, obviously people would want real estate with it. So what would happen there? And so then I just developed this business plan. And there's also a nonprofit side of it too, where I would donate a big portion of land to a Christian retreat center. And so like now the people buying in would also be funding a mission. So now it's for investment, for fun, for networking, for purpose. And I'm like, nobody's ever done this before. And I was like, I'm going to do it one day. Like the land will present itself. And what I'll do is when the land does present itself, okay, I'll be in contract. It'll be a long escrow because you got to go get, you know, the city to approve 100%. And all this stuff, right? So during that time, guess what? I'll get my mock-ups. I'll do everything. And I will have to spend money on this one. I can't just be like, here it is. Just trust me. You know, I'll say, this is what you're going to get. Here's the lots. Yeah. Here's what we predict. Put your pre-order in now, right? And then boom, people start putting their deposits. Boom, boom, boom. There's the money to buy it. There's the money to start the infrastructure and, you know, keep developing phases.
One, I believe that you can do it.
I appreciate that.
I think the other thing I was wondering, like, how come rich people like golf so much? I'm like a disc golf guy or like play squash or cycling, but like, why do rich people like golf so much?
Yeah, I was gonna say disc golf is not for the rich. That's for the,
no,
that's for the
like
peasants.
Stoners. And yeah, it's like it's free. That's why I like it.
Oh, you got a frisbee, bro? There's a park over here. There's the public park. Anyone can go.
But what is it? But no, because I think there's a perception that like once you do well or you want to do golf, well, you golf. And what is that?
Well, I'll tell you, I never golfed until 2.5 years ago. The only reason I got into it was because I bought land to build my dream home. And it just so happened to be on a golf course. I wasn't looking to be on a golf course. I was like, this land is what I want. This area is what I want.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I guess if I live in a golf course, I'm probably going to golf. And so I bought a membership. And I was like, well, I guess if I'm going to play, I should probably be good and not embarrass myself. So I got a coach. And then as I started playing, I was like, dang, dude, like this is actually pretty fun. And I was already an athlete. And I'm like, I'm going to pick this up pretty quick. And so then it became an addiction. And then you start to meet so many people on the course and different things. Like, so what's happened is on social media, like I'll post when I golf and stuff now, and I get lots of people who are like, hey, you know, I'm so-and-so at this course. Like I've had a guy who is like, hey, I am the head director at Augusta, which is the premier, most exclusive course in America. It's where Bill Gates and all these guys are members. He's like, I want you to come. I'm like, all right, you know, like you just, it opens doors that you would have never, it's like first class, but on steroids. That's what it is. It really is. And if you're good, then people will invite you because now you're fun. You're not like some hack who can't golf, right? Versus like, okay, if I want to go hang out with a rich person or like have a meeting, what are we going to do? All right, well, we could go to dinner, we could get a drink, we could go have coffee, whatever, right? And it's like an hour, 2 hours. But like deals and like big things happen on the golf course because now we're spending like 5 hours together and we're competing and you get to like show what you're all about. And I hit bombs, dude. So like people are always impressed when you hit a bomb. And they're just like, dude, you freaking swing it. I'll be like, yep. And then whatever happens, happens.
Did you go to Augusta?
I have not gone yet. I haven't had time. But the Masters is, I think I'm going to go this year with them.
I think the other thing for everyone out there, because I hear the audience and they're like, well, Ryan's a pro baseball player and no one and these kind of things, but you just got started.
Yeah.
Right. And you started putting yourself out there. Like there wasn't some special cheat that you had that no one else can do.
Yeah.
And by putting yourself out there for a consistent long period of time, just by getting started, sticking with it, like now the opportunities have come.
Well, one thing I'll say too for people, if you want to succeed in business and build relationships, it's all about commonality. So the more things you can have commonality with people at, the more your network will grow. So for instance, if I look at my network and the things I can like go deep on with people, we could go deep on business. So any entrepreneur and I, we could become really good friends just talking about stuff. I can go deep with content creators. I know that game. We can talk all about content. So you and I have commonality in two things right now, right? When I talk to Christians, I can go super deep on faith and theology and all of these things. Golf, sports, I can go deep with that sector of people.
That's interesting.
You know, I go see Cody Bellinger. I'm like, bro, we're already buddies. Like I already know what you're going through. We can talk at a deep level with this subject. So the more things, and you don't have to be an expert, by the way. You just have to like be passionate about it. It's like, that's why people build these groups. Oh, you like trading cards? Dude, let's talk about, you like this TV show? All right, cool. Like we have commonality there. Oh, this is your favorite author. This is your favorite whatever. Just put your hobbies and the things that you're 100%. Passionate about out there, and you're going to attract people who have commonality with you in that one thing. But guess what? They may be way above you in another thing, right? You put out there that, yo, dude, like I'm so passionate about fishing, right? And then guess who likes to fish? All kinds of people. Broke people, rich people, like whatever, right? But guess who you could be fishing with?
Yeah.
Some super rich person. And you're going to look at each other as on equal playing field.
100%.
Because you're fishing. We're not competing on wealth. We're just having fun fishing together.
I was coming over here today and it made me reflect, and I would like your answer as well. It made me reflect how many people I can just text. When you can just text, and meaning that from putting yourself out there, from attracting people, from helping people and so forth for a very long time, I can just text Ryan and be like, hey, I need help with this, or I have a question about this, and I can get access to that. And I think the same, I'm curious for you, it's like how many people now have really helped you to get to where you are today?
Oh, dude.
And it's like that text thing.
Oh, that's easily the biggest, because people will be like, who are your coaches? And I'll be like, to be honest, formal, like, hey, I talk to this person every week or whatever. I don't have many of them. You know, I got a trainer, I got my pastor, I have my business coach, but like, that's kind of it. But my friends who are just big dogs in this industry, dude, I can't tell you how many things I text them about, right? Like, so you're in SaaS and, you help all these SaaS companies. It's like, I'm sure Dan Martell.
Yeah.
And, Dan, I've interviewed him. We become great friends. He spoke at my event and I was like, we were looking at partnering with the SaaS company. I was like, Dan, I don't know what I need to be looking for. Like to be able to ask like the best about, hey, he's like, yeah, I'll hop on a Zoom for an hour with you and the founders and let's talk about it. And I'm like, all right, great. And then you just kind of take it for granted because you're just like, wow, like that's crazy. And then just with anything, digital marketing, real estate, all this stuff. I had, recently I had Ed Milet speak at our event and then him and I became great friends because of commonality, faith, business. He's a golfer. And so now like he bought an island he's building a golf course on. He bought himself a whole island.
That's cool.
And he's like, bro, look at this hole, dude. He'll just text me a picture. And I'm like, dude, that looks sick.
That's cool.
I'm ready. I'll test it. I'll be the guy. If you want to see if it's viable, I'll tell you if it's good or not.
You could drop your bomb there if you bomb it.
Yeah, I'll hit a bomb. And, it's like, dude, nothing can beat that. Nothing. And then, it's like, if I ever had somebody who wanted to get an app, I'd, trying to get traffic for their app, I'd be like, oh, bro, I know Noah. Let's get you linked 100%. Up with AppSumo. And now I just created a win for them. And if they're great, I created a win for you. I have nothing to gain out of it, but I'm just
connecting,
providing value.
100%. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing for people to reflect on, especially even with $1 Million Weekend. It's like, who can you text if you need someone?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to step back even further. If you don't have anyone, like, okay, great. How can you start helping and connecting with people today, or how putting yourself out there and whatever it is you're interested in? And I really liked your point about commonality. Like expand your dynamicism of yourself.
Yeah, if you're a robot who only likes one thing, it's going to be hard to grow a network, dude. Yeah, people like that who are like, dude, that dude just eats, sleeps, and drinks whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
He has no hobbies. He has no kid. Like we can connect even on a deeper level now because of kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like that wasn't a thing we could connect on before. And so I guess I'm just going to do a bunch of stuff so I can, oh, you got kids? You live in the United States? Me too. But that's what salespeople do, right? Yeah. The first thing you do when you're selling something is you're trying to create connection and rapport.
Yeah.
And you don't do that because you're different. You do it because you know something you have in common.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But dude, man, I'm excited to connect with you again, man. I'm excited for $1 Million Weekend. I think it's going to change lives. Where they get it? Amazon?
Go to $1millionweekend.com. It'll be on Amazon by the time this comes out. $1millionweekend.com. Got like videos, templates, checklists, a lot of different free things that people get with the book.
Okay. $1millionweekend.com, guys. Go check it out. Go to Noah's YouTube channel if you want some advice from the billionaires. If you want to go see him put himself out there and just knock doors and see what happens, guys. But make sure you're subscribed here too. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Most of my businesses have 15 to 30,000 a month coming in every single month from each business. I don't do real estate. I don't do business. I don't do lending. I do all of it. I was the first one in the country to ever have a We Buy Gold store. I opened up one and started making a ton of money. And before you know it, I had 300.
You had perfect